This is a Dayton 24/7 Now Code Red weather alert.
That's right. We are now under that code red weather alert tonight, tracking strong to severe storms potentially moving into our area through the early morning hours.
Right. So we want to give you a live look on our EcoPlumber Skycam now. It is fairly clear outside right now, but we're also expecting damaging winds, heavy rain. There is that chance of an isolated tornado overnight. So we want to send it over to Natalie to break everything down that we need to know. Natalie?
Yeah, just within the past 30 minutes or so, a tornado watch has been issued for most of the Miami Valley. That's what you see in yellow here. So this is until 6 a.m., all excluding Mercer and Auglaize County, although severe threats still exist there. But the greater tornado concern will be for much of the Miami Valley, especially along and south of I-70. So we're going to be monitoring these storms making their way in, heading through the rest of the overnight hours. But for right now, it's pretty quiet. But these are our threats that we're going to be tracking. Damaging wind gusts, primary concern. Potentially could even see some gusts upwards of 70 to 75 miles per hour. Mainly south of I-70 would be that concern. Isolated tornado concern is there, and then we're also tracking that heavy rain, potentially some large hail developing across the area too. For right now, we're fairly quiet, but we do have some showers that are starting to develop through parts of Clark County and then into Warren, Clinton County, even parts of Greene County. They're seeing severe weather off to our north, tornado warning in place, as you can see through parts of Michigan, and then back off to our west. Now we're starting to see some activity back off into Illinois that will eventually progress its way eastward, and we'll see some activity right here in the Miami Valley. So we do have that level 3 threat along and south of I-70. Rest of us under that level 2 threat for severe storms. So I'm going to time it all out for you, talk about what we're expecting coming up here in just a bit.
Well, the investigation into the Montgomery County Board of Elections leaked document is over, and we now have a copy of that final report. Jenna Lee Bork has more about what that investigation revealed. So, Jenna Lee, does it say who actually sent the document out and who it went to?
It does. What it revealed was a timeline of events starting with January 4th when Montgomery County Democratic Party Chairman Mohammed Al-Hamdani and Brenda Blauser filed a protest against candidate Mary McDonald. It then disclosed that multiple people in the Democratic Party received the document through emails. I spoke with Al-Hamdani today and Mary McDonald about the investigation and report. The investigation's final report stating that the document that was leaked was a privileged document through attorney-client privilege between the prosecutor's office and the Board of Elections. It goes on to say the sharing of the document started with Montgomery County Board of Elections Deputy Director Russ Joseph, first forwarding a copy to his private email address, then sending it to the Montgomery County Democratic Party Chairman Mohammed Al-Hamdani.
Did you notice at all, or did it give you pause, that this document did come from a private email address versus his normal office email address?
No, not ever. He usually emails me from his private email address to keep me up to date. That's just normal for him to do. Never gave me pause at all.
The report goes on to say that after Al-Hamdani received it, he sent it to Dennis Lieberman, the legal counsel for the Montgomery County Democratic Party, who's also the husband of Montgomery County Commission President Deborah Lieberman, which is Mary McDonald's opponent. I asked Al-Hamdani why he did that.
He's the attorney for the Democratic Party. So Dennis Lieberman is not just her husband of her opponent. He was also the former chairman of the Montgomery County Democratic Party, and he is the attorney for the Democratic Party. So this naturally, send it to my attorney and say, hey, what do you think of this? I mean, that's a natural thing for me to do.
Dennis Lieberman then sent the document to Don McTeague, who was the legal counsel for the protesters.
Was your act of forwarding that email at all politically motivated, knowing though that he is married to Mary McDonald's opponent?
No, not at all. I actually just kind of asked him to look at it and send it to the attorney that was representing us. That document is not a privileged document. I know some of them try to claim it, but I think today they voted to release it to the public. There's nothing in that document that was privileged at all. It was just plain legal research and plain legal opinion. Actually, no opinion was given. It was just legal research saying this is the law, and nothing on that document ever said it was privileged at all, so we didn't even think twice about it.
I also spoke to Mary McDonald today, who thinks otherwise. Her or her attorney have not yet seen the document that was leaked.
The absolute levels that these individuals have gone to keep me off the ballot and to serve the individual that I'm challenging, Mr. Lieberman, for his wife, and Mohammed, who works for Mr. Lieberman. I mean, this is a concerted effort that people are putting forth to keep people away from positions that they feel they're entitled to without anyone challenging them.
Deputy Director Joseph sent me a statement today saying, in part, I made a mistake in releasing the prosecutor's memo. It was not labeled as a privileged document, nor did it cross my mind at the time that it might be. The board did vote to make the memo public. They also suggested Joseph undergo public records training, but didn't suspend him or let him go. Back to you.
Former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder is now appealing his conviction and prison sentence tonight. Householder's attorneys claim he was scapegoated by the federal government. Now, he was sentenced to 20 years last year after being found guilty of taking millions of dollars in bribes to pass and uphold a nuclear plant bailout. House Bill 6, the $61 million bribery scheme, is the largest corruption case in state history.
Now, the trial today continuing for the man accused of attempting to kidnap an elementary school child in Xenia. In court today, jurors saw body camera footage of Reed Duran trying to stab an officer. Investigators say he impersonated a parent at an open house at St. Bridget's School in 2022. Now, according to prosecutors, Duran planned to drug and kidnap a child. The jury also heard testimony from the father of the alleged intended victim. Duran pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. His trial continues tomorrow.
The woman accused of killing 5-year-old Darnell Taylor has now been indicted. Pammy May now faces charges of aggravated murder, 3 counts of tampering with evidence and abuse of a corpse, as well as kidnapping, endangering children, and murder. Now, she's accused of killing the boy, dumping his body in a Columbus sewer drain. The two are at the center of a statewide Amber Alert. Taylor's cause of death was asphyxiation. May is set to be arraigned on Friday.
These 2 women now facing charges after a 22-month-old child shot himself in the head with an unsecured firearm. Now, they both pleaded not guilty in Montgomery County Court today. Rashonda Rogers facing charges of child endangerment, tampering with evidence, and having weapons under disability. Her bond is set at $50,000. And Darielle Brazel was charged with obstructing justice. She's been appointed public counsel and is now out of jail tonight without paying bail, which is allowed as long as she makes her court appearances.
We want to give you a live look at I-70 tonight, where all lanes near Huber Heights are back open after a police chase. Dayton police say detectives were investigating a vehicle that hit a police car near Gettysburg Avenue this afternoon. That driver then drove off, led police on a chase. Now, that suspect was reportedly armed and dangerous during this whole thing, and it ended a short time later. Suspect was arrested. Nobody was hurt out of it.
The Dayton Police Department and mother of a woman who was killed in a hit and run is now asking for your help tonight. 43-year-old Tiffany Anderson was killed 1 year ago today after a car accident on Redwood Avenue. The other driver involved left the scene before police arrived and has not yet been found.
Myself and her and the rest of the family, we'd love to know, we want answers. Her children deserve to see this person in court.
And as the motorists, again, look for those pedestrians, look for small children, people in wheelchairs, those sort of things that might not be at the normal height that you would expect a pedestrian, and just be aware of those sort of things.
Now, for anyone that may have information that could help in the investigation of the case, you're asked to call the detective at 937-333-1142, or you can remain anonymous and call Miami Valley Crime Stoppers at 222-STOP.
Montgomery County, nonprofits can soon apply to get part of $2 million in funding. County commissioners announced the direct opioid settlement funding opportunity is going to open on Friday. That money comes from state settlements with opioid manufacturers and distributors. Local agencies that provide prevention, treatment, and community recovery support to the county can apply and get up to $200,000.
There is still more work that needs to be done and more lives that need to be saved. So here we are today, reinvesting and recommitting to the crucial work required to end overdoses and to save lives.
Now, this funding is only a portion of the $10 million from the settlement. $6 million will help construct the new behavioral health unit inside the Montgomery County Jail. The county is also investing $2 million into the safety net portal to ensure people get the appropriate level of care, even across county lines.
The Dayton Dragons season opener just a little over a month away, and Day Air Ballpark is busy wrapping up major reconstruction. Now Kasha Hancock joins us from the stadium with a little behind the scenes for all those renovations coming along.
When fans pack the stadium for opening day on April 5th, they'll likely notice some big changes. Day Air Ballpark has been busy with renovations for the Dayton Dragons 2024 season. Right now, crews are installing 92,000 square feet of Kentucky bluegrass sod. The ballpark is also upgrading warning tracks, draining and irrigation, and field mounds. This will be the first field construction since 2011. The original field was built in 2000. Detmere and Sons of Fairborn will install new exhaust fans and rooftop units along with energy recovery ventilators.
Yeah, the field underground gets a little bit more compact and less dense for drainage. Things need to be repaired. Usually the fields have about a 10 to 12 year shelf life, so this will be our third field here at Day Air Ballpark. It was probably about time to get that done this offseason.
And if you still need to purchase tickets for the 2024 season, we posted a link on the web version of this story on Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
A woman accused of shooting her infant granddaughter in court today. A look at what took place in the courtroom today.
New information just released about that deadly plane crash on a Florida highway. What investigators discovered next.
Plus a tornado watch in effect for much of the Miami Valley. I'll have details on that code red weather alert coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
All right, we want to give you a live look from our EcoPlumber Skycam. You can see the moon shining, but things in the distance, they're going to make things different here soon.
Yeah, tornado watch has been issued for the entire or most of the Miami Valley, excluding Auglaize, as well as Mercer County. So it is quiet right now. We got a couple of showers popping up across the area, but heading through the rest of the evening, overnight, we will start to see storms developing, some of which could become strong to severe. So this tornado watch is in effect until 6 a.m. So heading through the overnight hours, you want to make sure that you have a way to receive weather alerts overnight. So going into the Storm Prediction Center outlook and the risks that we have here, 5% risk for a tornado within pretty much the entirety of the Miami Valley for us, with a sliver of a 10% risk further to the southwest. So with this 5% risk, what that means is within 25 miles of a point, there's a 5% risk of a tornado. So it's a low wind risk, but a little higher than what we typically see, which is that 2% risk. That's what we see with a severe weather system, maybe a slight risk of severe storms. So this is slightly elevated. As far as our wind risk or our hail risk, 15% risk for our area. We could see some large hail. I don't think it's our biggest concern, but our biggest concern is the winds. 15% risk for most of our area. Along and south of I-70, we do have that 30% risk for damaging winds and even the potential for some of those winds to maybe in excess of 70 to 75 miles per hour. So intense winds possible with this system as it makes its way in. So right now we're sitting in the warm sector of this system. We do have some showers that have managed to pop up now off to our west or our east, and then further to the southwest, we're now starting to see some thunderstorms back off into Illinois that we'll be monitoring. So pausing this here at about 1 a.m., fairly quiet, but there are signs now that we will start to see storms progressing into the area, likely between 2 a.m. to maybe around 5 a.m. time frame, posing that severe weather risk, damaging wind gusts, and that isolated tornado risk as it heads its way eastward. And then quieting down, although I do still think we could perhaps see some rumbles of thunder early into our Wednesday morning. We top out around 60 degrees, but that's early into the morning because by 10 a.m. we'll be back into the 30s, and then a couple of snow showers even possible as we get the system to make its way through. And it's going to be cold and windy tomorrow, gusts up to about 45 miles per hour. So with this severe weather risk overnight, we want to make sure we are prepared. So charge your cell phone, make sure that is charged, ready to go, because it's a great way to not only receive those weather alerts, but let's say you lose power, you can also use it to maybe watch severe weather coverage on your phone on our app, Dayton247now.com. We also have, of course, have a way to get those weather alerts. You could have a weather radio, have that weather radio ready to go and charged to get those alerts too. It's very loud. That will wake you up. And then of course know where your safe spot is, which is indoors, away from windows, lowest level of your home. A basement, of course, would be the best place to be. So just stay weather aware, and we're going to be keeping you up to date with the latest. Otherwise, it gets cold by Thursday, only high in the 40s before we rebound again by next week back into the mid 60s. So stay weather aware overnight. I plan on being here. Meteorologist Nick Marusiak, our morning meteorologist, will be here early into the morning as well to make sure we are keeping you up to date with the latest before we rebound again back up into the 70s by next week.
The woman accused of shooting her infant granddaughter will get a second competency evaluation. Mia Harris went back before a judge this afternoon. Chelsea Sick was in that courtroom and has what happened next.
Well, first, the good news. Prosecutors say that baby is expected to survive and is doing a lot better. They believe Mia Harris shot the little girl back in December during a family dispute. Harris appeared in court for a competency hearing, which lasted only 3 minutes. That's because her attorney asked for a second medical opinion on Harris's mental status. 2 evaluations have already been done. One, a competency evaluation. That's a doctor's opinion of whether Harris has the ability to understand trial proceedings. Doctors have also done a not guilty by reason of insanity evaluation. That decides whether Harris knew right from wrong at the time of the alleged crime. Defense attorney David Albrecht asked for a second opinion on both of those evaluations. The findings from the first evaluations were not released today or discussed in court. Harris is charged with 4 counts of felonious assault and improperly discharging a firearm. Now, detectives say Harris told them her family was trying to take her money. She allegedly told officers the child wasn't her grandchild, and they say she told them sorry, not sorry, following that shooting. Another competency evaluation hearing is scheduled for April 16th.
A new report on the deadly Florida crash of a plane that took off from Columbus has just been released tonight. Now, that report says 3 engine warnings were recorded right before the pilots radioed that they had lost both engines. Flight data recovered from the wreckage also shows pilots were alerted to a left engine oil pressure warning, then a right engine oil pressure warning, and finally an engine warning, all within just a few seconds. The plane eventually crashed on I-75 in Naples, Florida. The plane's pilot and co-pilot died. 3 others were able to make it out.
The world's largest automaker issuing hundreds of thousands of recalls tonight. We'll let you know if your vehicle is affected. That's next.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. Toyota is now recalling nearly 280,000 vehicles due to a faulty transmission. Parts of the transmission might not disengage while in neutral, causing the vehicle to move forward. Now, the recall involves 3 2022 to 2024 models, including the Toyota Tundra and Tundra Hybrid, along with the Toyota Sequoia and the Lexus LX 600. Toyota says it plans to notify owners of the affected vehicles by late April. Toyota is also recalling 381,000 Tacoma pickups. The world's largest automaker says the truck's rear axle bolts can get loose and the axle can detach. Now, the recall affects the 2022 and 2023 model years. Affected owners will be contacted and advised to take their Tacomas to the nearest dealer to have that rear axle inspected.
The FDA announcing a nationwide recall of eye ointment products. Now, multiple brands from Brassica Pharma Private Limited, sold at Walmart, CVS, may not be sterile, and they include the Equate lubricant eye ointment, CVS Health eye ointment as well. That could cause health problems, of course, because medicine that goes through the eye avoids some of the human body's natural defenses. There haven't been any reports, though, of injuries so far, but if you got any of these things, you're advised to take the ointments back to where you bought them for a recall.
Dayton men's basketball back home on Tuesday. After almost a week between games, could the Flyers stay perfect at home against Davidson? Matt Digby will tell us next.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.